Lions taking a look at an offensive lineman. I believe they should be looking elsewhere.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. Matt Dery with you on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and the #1 sports podcast network on a Thursday, March the 5th, and a Friday, March the 6th. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody. Thanks for being with us here, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We appreciate all of you for being with us. Coming up on the show today, Lions taking a look at a random offensive tackle, a young guy, still relatively young, for depth. We will explain coming up momentarily. Also, the Bears, touchdown Bears, they win a trade today. They do. I hate to say it, but they do. There is an edge rusher that's going to be available. I'm not going to tell you his name. I'm just going to tell you his age and his stats, and then you'll put the pieces together, and then we'll talk about him a little bit later on. And also at the end of the show today, Sione Vaki here, or free agent running back here. All of that right here on a Thursday edition of a Locked On Lions. We appreciate all of you being with us. Shout out to our everyday listeners as well. Thanks to many of you. Got to do an everydayer list. Dr. Mark, appreciate Dr. Mark Siegel. Got to hit up some of our everydayers and go over a list very, very soon. All right, this one kind of caught me off guard today, but let's open with the following. We know this about your Honolulu Blue and Silver Gladiators. Dan Campbell has said it. Brad Holmes has said it. They want to add some depth at tackle, regardless of whether or not Taylor Decker was coming back. Holmes talked at the Combine last week, and then I talked to Ricardo last week, and talked at the Combine about Taylor Decker's situation, and then within hours after Holmes on Holmes did his chit-chat, Taylor Decker announced on social media that he was coming back. But Dan Campbell made it a point to say, no matter if Decker's back or not, we need to add a tackle or two and get more depth at that position. And so today, according to NFL insider Jordan Schultz, the Lions, in fact, hosted for a visit free agent tackle Jed Wills, who also met with the Patriots recently. Jedrick Wills was a Cleveland Brown for many years. He's only 26 years of age and was a former top 10 pick back in the 2020 NFL draft. He started off not bad at all, playing left tackle for the Browns. And then over the 2023, 2024, and 25 seasons, Jed Wills was bad. And last year doesn't really count because he sat out the entire year with injuries and coming back from an MCL injury, complications, etc. He wants back in. And in the open, I said it. Lions are looking at an offensive lineman, and I'd look elsewhere. I'm not talking about elsewhere meaning a different position. I'm talking about elsewhere in terms of Jed Wills. Let me take you back to the 2024 season. All right, and I do a little radio in Cleveland, so I remember this story. The Browns play a game. Jed Wills gets hurt, and the next week, he's inactive. They ask him in the locker room after the game, or maybe that next week, why didn't you play? And again, he had been bothered by some knee soreness. And he said, I made a business decision not to play. So why would the Lions want to bring in a guy? And maybe Jed Wills made a mistake. We all make mistakes. I make them every day. But why would the Lions want to bring in a guy that has openly talked about business decisions and not playing through injuries? Now, he sat out all of last year to rest and to come back from an MCL. He played in 8 games in 2023, was benched, 5 games in 2024, benched again, then brought back, then the business decision line, which at the time, head coach Kevin Stefanski, the Browns, said, you know what, it was probably a mistake that Jed said what he said. And the Browns just then after that basically deactivated him. He was gone. And last year he sat out the entire season. The Browns did pick up his fifth-year option before the 2023 season because he had not been terrible his first 3 years in the league. But he's not a great run blocker. As Jeremy Reisman pointed out today in prideofdetroit.com, Wills had never scored a higher than a 61.7 in PFF run blocking grade. When he came out of Alabama, he was a beast in college. All right. And again, he'll be 27 years old this summer. Now, he has ties to the Lions, which is possible as to why they decided to kick the tires and at least talk to him today, because Drew Petzing was in Cleveland his first 3 years. Wills' first 3 years, 20, 21, and 22. Petzing was the quarterback's coach back then in Cleveland. So as Dan Campbell said, one way or another, we're going to need somebody that can play over there. That was regardless of whether Taylor Decker was back or not. I just questioned Jed Wills because this was a guy who told the coaching staff 2 years ago, I'm good, I'm not playing. And then told the media it was a business decision. That didn't go over real well in Cleveland. Now, the Patriots visited with him the other day. He's got other visits lined up. He's a free, he can sign right now. Lions need depth pieces, but I don't love his game. Regardless of the business decision stuff and the mistake that he made, don't love his game either. This was a guy that underachieved. And we've talked about it with Brad Holmes, and I said it on the show yesterday in case you missed it. I am not going to yell and scream about Brad Holmes' offseason until the offseason really starts, and that's Monday at noon. But this seems like a little bit of a dumpster dive when we're, hey, let's kick the tires on Jed Wills. Jed Wills is a free agent, and he's out there, and guess what? He's cheap. But I don't think he's that good of a football player. I want good football players here. You want to talk to tackles, you want to add some depth along the offensive line, you want to have somebody ready in case Taylor Decker's injuries just do him in again like they did at times last year, that's fine. But let's get somebody good in here. The Lions are a really good team. I believe with a fourth place schedule and with, I think the Bears are good, okay? But I'm not sure the Bears are going to have the kind of year this year they had last year. Green Bay scares me, of course, if they're healthy. And Minnesota's Minnesota. A bad Minnesota team this past year just swept you. Jed Wills, I'm not thrilled about. Now, coming up next, I want to bring something up. I'm going to give you some stats. I'm going to give you some stats, partner. When I do that stats line, nobody in the YouTube comments or anywhere else knows who I'm impersonating. Oh, stats. Total inside bit. Somebody knows. I'm going to give you some numbers from a guy last year that had 10 sacks and put up decent numbers. And I bet that everybody watching or listening is going to say, ooh, let's sign him. Who's that? Then I'm going to tell you who it is. I want to know if it still is like a fancy tickler or if it's no. We're not doing that because he does have ties to your Detroit Lions. Edge rusher available and made available according to reports today. We'll get into that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. It is a Thursday edition on the Locked On Podcast Network. Hey, it's Matt Dery from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary. All right, back on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions, the number one sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. Matt Dery with you. 10 years, 10 seasons we've been with you here on Locked On. Appreciate all of you that are out there. Of course, I got something for you. All right. Some of you have heard me talk about the Everydayer Club, and you're like, yeah, I'm not forking over money per month to check out Matt on the Discord server, or I don't want, no, I'm telling you, let's check it out now because it's going to be free. All right. Free agency is here. We're here. Get 1 month free of our Locked On Lions Everydayer Club by using the code free agency, no spaces, now through March 15th. 10 more days. All right. Join the club. Go to lockedonlions.supercast.com. Use that code free agency, no spaces, all one word, free agency, now for the next 10 days, and you can have the first month free. All right. Then you can cancel if you want. But you get an ad-free feed of the show. And we got our Locked On Lions Discord server. It's a chat. You hop on there. It's fun. We're talking Lions every single day. I'm on there as well. Again, that's lockedonlions.supercast.com. Before I get to my edge rusher that could be available bit, it's amazing. I was at a couple of events today, including, yes, I'm all dressed up here because I took home an award today at the Troy Chamber of Commerce, winning their Chamber Advocate Award. Thank you to everybody involved at the Chamber, Tara, Sheila, the whole crew, and thanks to everybody that voted for me. Love the Chamber and do a lot of business there. But couple people at the Chamber event today, and then at another event I was at yesterday, actually. Gosh, you would have thought that the Lions had just traded Barry Sanders. And I'm not saying David Montgomery's bad, or I'm not making fun of Monty at all. Love David Montgomery. I'm a Montgomery fan. But my people are like coming up to me like, Matt, can you believe I am so upset? And this is the 4th round pick, 7th round pick, backup lineman. What are we doing? David Montgomery. I'm like, David Montgomery didn't want to be here. He was your number 2 running back. And guess what? This season, he would have been your number 2 running back. This guy was much more popular than I ever knew. Much more popular than I ever knew. More people talking to me about losing Demo. Like, yes, it's a loss. Yes, they're worse today in the running back room than they were 3 days ago. But man, people still lamenting the David Montgomery trade. It's amazing. All right, you ready for this? Let's do this. All right. I'm going to name a player's statistics from this past season, and you tell me if you would take him on your team. All right. Lions needed edge rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Womp, womp. We've heard that for 2 years, maybe 3. This guy is now available. He had 10 sacks last year. All right. Sounds good. 31 solo tackles. Forced a fumble. PFF has him last season with a run defense grade of 82.1, 4th best of all edge rushers in the NFL. His overall grade was a 76, good for 24th out of 115 eligible edge rushers. You're getting a top 25, according to PFF, edge rusher, a top 4 run defense edge rusher, and a guy who finished with 10 sacks. Sign me up, right? You're like, this is a no-brainer. Who is this? Ladies and gentlemen, Cam Jordan is now available. According to reports, the Saints and Jordan could not agree to a new deal. And yes, the soon-to-be 37-year-old Cam Jordan is going to test the free agent waters, according to various reports. Now, again, How do you feel about a 37-year-old who's played 15 seasons in the league, entering year number 16? You still want him? Guess what? I do. Absolutely. You want to talk about one of the classiest guys in football, one of the best teammates, a leader, and you're getting him likely for 1 year. We know Brad Holmes loves doling out those 1-year contracts, and familiarity with the Detroit Lions coaches. Dan Campbell was in New Orleans, played with I know Alex Anzalone, Gaines Media poster boy, likely won't be back, but it was just a few years ago. Anzalone, Aaron Glenn, I know Aaron Glenn's gone, but just bear with me. Dan Campbell and Cam Jordan were all gumboing it up in New Orleans. Dan Campbell knows Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan has been on some absolutely horrendous Saints teams the last few years. They're getting better. I like Shuck. I like the coach. They're on the rise. Shout out to Locked On Saints host and my man Ross Jackson. But Cam Jordan had a good year last year for somebody that was playing in his 15th season as edge rusher spot. So to me, I think this is a no-brainer. It will not cost a lot of money. And if Cam Jordan is looking for a winning opportunity, this is it. This would be a guy that would be a great fit here. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler. 8 times. 13, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 2022. First team All-Pro 2017. Second team All-Pro 2015, 2016. I know he's old. I know it's this is a team that brought Marcus Davenport back last year. You can't sign Cameron Jordan? Mark me down. I would accept this, and I thought he was always going to finish his career with the Saints, but it sounds like they can't agree to terms on a deal, and he's going to hit free agency on Monday. I'm not saying this is a Monday at noon signing, but I'm saying this is one where you're going to get a productive player regardless of his age. So I'm in on Cam Jordan. I brought up Cam Jordan last year. Something happened today, and boy, oh boy, the Chicago Bears. How? And I'm interested. I got to watch Locked On Bills. I'll see what Joe Marino said. I'm a huge Joe fan. He's probably one of the best hosts on this network. I'm interested in seeing what Joe Marino has to say about Bills GM Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane couldn't find a wide receiver if he jumped in a hot tub with Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin. All right. He's that bad at evaluating receivers. And today the Bills sent a second-round pick to the Bears for DJ Moore. DJ Moore, clutch, all right, makes some big catches for the Bears, but at 29 years of age, a declining player. And the Bears, a lot of reports and rumors about the Bears accumulating draft picks. They get DJ Moore's money off the books. They get Drew Dahlman's money off the books, although that was not their intent. Dahlman retired. Freeing up space for a Max Crosby pursuit. Now they've got an extra second-round pick. You got a number 2. The original report that came out, I forgot who broke the story this morning. It was like DJ Moore is being traded for like a 5th-round pick. Everybody went, oh, okay, it sounds about right. DJ just didn't have the year he had the last couple of years, and while he did make some clutch plays for Caleb Williams, they've got Luther Burden, they've got Colston Loveland, they've got Roma Dunze, they've got other receivers. Then all of a sudden it was, no, it's DJ Moore and a 5th-round pick going to Buffalo for a 2nd-round pick. And it's like, you got a number 2 for DJ Moore. That's good GMing by Chef Poles. I got to give Ryan Poles some credit. And again, Brandon Beane and the Bills, no idea what they're doing. Brandon Beane, he brought in Stephon Diggs. That didn't work. He's had Keon Coleman. That didn't work. I mean, how many different receivers have they tried in Buffalo? that just don't seem to work and should work when you've got Josh Allen there. Crazy to me. All right. Coming up next, interesting question that I was thinking about today. There are a ton of veteran free agent running backs that could be the David Montgomery replacement. Or do the Lions decide, hey, look, Sione Vaki's a 4th-round pick, and he's been on mothballs basically for 2 years. Let's give him the rock when Jahmyr Gibbs isn't in the game. I think the Lions are going to add a running back somehow. The question is, what tier? We'll bring that up next here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today, sponsored by BetterHelp. March is a time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, and to recognize just how much they carry, whether it's at work and relationships and families and all the unseen roles they step into every single day. It's easy to celebrate that strength, but it's just as important to make space for their emotional well-being. And honestly, that goes for all of us. All right. Who do I celebrate in a woman in my life? My mom. Happy to still have her with us and doing well and healthy. And I'm happy about that. I think about my mom and how much she carries, all right, without always saying so. And it makes me think how many of us are doing the same thing. The roles we play, the expectations we carry. That's why therapy can help support all of that. Creating balance, setting healthy boundaries, and supporting your overall well-being. BetterHelp's the place to go, folks. They got over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide. They are the world's largest online therapy platform. Fill out the short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist. If it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's betterhelp.com/lockedon. All right, so the Detroit Lions have traded David Montgomery. We know this. Now it is time to figure out who the backup is going to be to Jahmyr Gibbs this coming season. We got free agency here. No, the Detroit Lions are not going after starting running backs. All right, I don't see that happening. But there's a lot of second and third tier backs that are available for the Lions. Now, like I said, Kenneth Walker's not coming to Detroit. Breece Hall's not coming to Detroit. Travis Etienne, starter in Jacksonville, not coming here. Rico Dowdle, not coming here. Tyler Algier is interesting. That's the first name that I thought of because he was a backup to Bijan the last 2 years. But maybe Algier says, send me to Seattle or where if Kenneth Walker's not back, or send me to Jacksonville, or let me go somewhere where I can play. Remember, the person that the Lions bring in to push Sione Vaki and have another veteran there, it's going to be somebody that has to play second fiddle to Jahmyr Gibbs. Tyler Algier, I like a lot as a backup, but I'm not sure he thinks he's a backup. All right, so who else does that leave? Well, first and foremost, a few weeks ago, I brought up the name Michael Carter because Michael Carter has ties to Drew Petzing. Carter's a veteran. Carter's not going to command a lot of money, and he's a backup. Plain and simple. Kareem Hunt, Kansas City Chiefs. Seems like he always heads back to Kansas City. It always seems like he's there with Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes. But if you want a veteran that's reliable, Kareem Hunt's the guy. Now, Kareem Hunt has had a history of some stuff off the field, and we know the Lions stay away from guys like that. So that's a possibility that the Lions would pass on him. Nick Chubb is another name that we've brought up before. Starred in Cleveland, was the best running back in football for a while in Cleveland. Tore his ACL, hasn't been the same. Would he accept a backup role coming from Houston to Detroit? And he's a power guy. It's something to keep an eye on. There's also somebody out there that has some Michigan ties, and that would be one Austin Ekeler. Got hurt last year in Washington. I believe he tore his ACL as well and is a veteran now that is free. If you recall, a few years ago, when he was with the San Diego Chargers and then the LA Chargers, Austin Ekeler was a stud. This was a starter, that 1,000-yard guy, can catch it out of the backfield, can play all 3 downs, and is really, really, really good. And now he's not the same guy. But good news, if you're an Austin Ekeler fan, Austin Ekeler's in-laws live 15 minutes from me. They're East Siders here in Michigan. And I know they would love if Austin Ekeler was here. So he's got a few ties here. But those are the kind of names that you're going to see. Brian Robinson, ex of the Niners and Commanders, no. J.K. Dobbins, always hurt. Also too small. I'm looking for somebody a little bit more powerful. Rashad White, very good receiver, but not a great back in terms of toting the rock. So those are all options. But again, Sione Vaki, 4th-round pick out of Utah, I believe the Lions want to give opportunities to. They want to see if a Jahmyr Gibbs needs a breather, or if a Jahmyr Gibbs somehow, again, knock on wood, gets injured, would they give Vaki Town an opportunity just to see what he can do? All right. We saw in the preseason last year, there were some times he got some carries. He did okay. But you spent a 4th-round pick on him. I'd like to see him. That's why getting Algier in here, I don't see as something that's happening, because Tyler Algier is going to want to play. And he's also not going to want to compete with Sione Vaki. Whereas a Michael Carter probably would accept that. A Nick Chubb could accept that. A Kareem Hunt could accept that. But there are those types of backs that are available on the cheap that would compete with Vaki. But I think Vaki's at least earned the right to an opportunity here. All right, this wasn't a 7th-round pick. You traded up in the 4th to get him. Let's see if he can run the football. All right, that'll do it for this Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Locked On Podcast Network is the #1 sports podcast network. Don't forget Scotty Bentley, Locked On Tigers, B. Fish, Locked On Red Wings. The NHL trade deadline is tomorrow. All right, need to get bigger on that blue line. Tune into Locked On Red Wings and Ku Kahil, Locked On Pistons, all available for you. And our Locked On Lions squad show as well with our man Jake Riepma, Dan Campbell, Bradford Banta, and Natalie Kerwin. Check out the squad show twice a week. Thanks, everybody.